My father-in-law defended me for months. Until he found out I was sleeping with his son-in-law. I slept with my husband's sister's husband, and my father-in-law, the man who stood up for me at every family dinner, who called me his daughter, who told everyone I was the best thing that ever happened to his son, found out 3 weeks ago. He hasn't spoken to me since. None of them have. Let me back up. My husband David and I were together for 9 years, married for 6. We had 2 kids, a boy and a girl, 7 and 4. On paper, we were solid. He worked in finance, I worked part-time at a dental office, we had the house with the backyard and the golden retriever. His family adored me. Especially his dad, Richard. Richard was the kind of father-in-law who texted me separately to check in, who remembered my birthday before his own son did, who defended me when David's mom made passive-aggressive comments about my cooking or how I dressed the kids. He was my biggest advocate in that family. David's sister, Emily, married Josh 4 years ago. Josh was charming in that effortless way some men are. Tall, tattoos on his forearms, worked in construction, always had a story that made people laugh. Emily worshipped him. I noticed him noticing me at family barbecues, but I told myself it was harmless. Everyone notices everyone. It didn't mean anything. Except it started meaning something around last April. Emily and Josh were having problems. She told me about it one night when we were doing dishes after a family dinner. He was distant, she said. Always on his phone. She thought he might be cheating. I hugged her and told her she deserved better, and the whole time I was thinking about how Josh had looked at me across the table that night. How he brushed past me in the hallway and let his hand linger on my lower back for just a second too long. I should have felt disgusted with myself in that moment. Instead, I felt a flutter in my stomach that I hadn't felt in years. That's how far gone I already was. 2 weeks later, Josh texted me. Just a meme at first. Something stupid about marriage. I laughed and sent one back. Then it was daily. Then it was late at night. Then it was compliments. You look really good today. David doesn't know how lucky he is. I should have stopped it. I knew I should have stopped it. But here's the sick truth, I liked it. I liked feeling wanted in a way that felt dangerous. David and I had fallen into a routine. We had sex maybe twice a month, and even then it felt obligatory. We talked about the kids and bills and whose turn it was to take out the trash. We were roommates who shared a bed. And Josh made me feel like I was still someone worth chasing. I started putting on makeup before family dinners. I started wearing tighter jeans. I told myself it was just about feeling good about myself, but I knew exactly who I was dressing for. David noticed once. He said, "You look nice." I felt guilty for about 5 seconds. Then Josh texted me damn with a fire emoji and the guilt evaporated. The first time we kissed was in his truck outside a grocery store. I'd texted him that I was running errands, and he just showed up. Said he was in the area. We sat in the parking lot talking for 20 minutes, and then he leaned over and kissed me, and I didn't stop him. I kissed him back. Hard. Like I was drowning and he was air. When we pulled apart, he was grinning. I was shaking. He said, "I've wanted to do that for months." I went home and made dinner for my husband and tucked my kids into bed and pretended nothing had happened. My son asked me why I was smiling so much. I told him Mommy just had a good day. The first time we had sex was in a motel off the highway 3 weeks after that. I told David the first was going to a girls' night. I told myself it was just once. Just to get it out of my system. But it wasn't just once. It was 12 times over 5 months. Lunch breaks. Late nights when David thought I was at the gym. Once in Josh's truck in the parking lot behind my office where anyone could have seen us. Each time, I told myself it was the last time. Each time, I went home and kissed my husband and helped my daughter with her homework and felt nothing. No guilt. No shame. Just this weird numbness, like I was watching my life happen to someone else. I told myself I wasn't hurting anyone. Emily didn't know. David didn't know. The kids were fine. I was compartmentalizing. I was in control. I was managing it. That's what I actually believed. That I was managing an affair the way you'd manage a budget or a schedule. Richard kept defending me through all of it. When David's mom made a comment about me letting myself go after the second baby, Richard shut her down hard. Told her she was being cruel and that I was beautiful and David was lucky to have me. When I forgot to RSVP to a family event and Emily got annoyed, Richard said I was busy being a great mother and everyone needed to give me grace. He told David at a barbecue in July, loud enough for me to hear, "You better take care of that woman. She's the glue holding this family together." I smiled and thanked him. I hugged him and told him he was the best father-in-law anyone could ask for. And 2 days later I was in a hotel room with his son-in-law, my legs wrapped around him, moaning into his neck. I remember that specific moment because Josh's phone buzzed on the nightstand. It was Emily. The contact photo was from their wedding. Her in a white dress, him kissing her cheek, both of them glowing. He ignored the call. I should have stopped right then. Should have gotten dressed and left and never spoken to him again. Instead, I pulled him closer. Josh and I got sloppy. That's what happens when you think you're smarter than everyone else. We stopped being careful. We texted during family dinners. We made excuses to leave at the same time. I stopped wearing my wedding ring when I was with him because it felt wrong, which is insane because everything about it was wrong, but in my twisted logic, the ring was the problem. My daughter asked me once where my ring was. I told her mommy took it off to do dishes and forgot to put it back on. She said, "You should be more careful, mommy. Daddy gave you that." I kissed her forehead and told her she was right. Then I went upstairs and texted Josh that I missed him. David started noticing things in August. Small things. I was on my phone more. I was distracted. I snapped at him over nothing. He asked if I was okay. I said I was fine, just stressed about work. He said we should do a date night. Get reconnected. I agreed and then canceled 2 hours before because Josh texted me that he had a free evening. David didn't say anything. He just nodded. But I saw something shift in his face. Something resigned. Emily found out first. She went through Josh's phone in late August. She saw everything. The texts. The photos I'd sent. The hotels. She called me at 6 in the morning, screaming so loud I had to lock myself in the bathroom so David wouldn't hear. She called me every name you can imagine. Whore. Homewrecker. Snake. Backstabber. She said she trusted me. She said she told me things she never told anyone. She said I smiled in her face while I was screwing her husband. She was right about all of it. I begged her not to tell anyone. I cried and said I was sorry, that it was a mistake, that I loved David and the kids and I would do anything to make it right. That I would never speak to Josh again. That I would go to therapy. That I would do whatever it took. She laughed. It was this cold, bitter sound. She said, "You're not sorry you did it. You're sorry you got caught." Then she hung up on me. She told Josh's parents first. Then she told her mom. Then she told Richard. Richard called me that afternoon. I saw his name on my phone and my stomach dropped. My hands were shaking so bad I almost didn't answer. When I did, for 10 seconds there was just silence. I could hear him breathing. Then he said, very quietly, "Is it true?" I couldn't lie to him. I tried. My mouth opened and nothing came out. The silence stretched. Finally, I whispered, "Yes." He didn't yell. I almost wish he had. Instead, he said, "I defended you." The way his voice broke on that sentence destroyed me. I started crying. I said, "I know. I'm so sorry. I don't know what I was thinking. I don't know why I did it. Richard, please, I'm so sorry." He cut me off. "I told my wife she was wrong about you. I told my son he was lucky. I stood up for you in front of my whole family. Do you know how many times I told David he needed to appreciate you more? How many arguments I had with Susan because she thought you were entitled and I said she was being unfair?" I was sobbing. "Richard, please. I never meant to hurt anyone. I never wanted this to happen. But it did happen," he said. "You made it happen. You chose this. Every single time, you chose this." "I know," I choked out. "I know. I'm sorry. Don't call me again," he said. And he hung up. I sat on the bathroom floor and cried until I threw up. David found out that night. Emily called him and told him everything. I was in the living room folding laundry when he came downstairs. He didn't yell. He didn't cry. He just stood there looking at me like I was a stranger. "Is it true?" he asked. His voice was completely flat. I nodded. He stared at me for a long time. I watched his face cycle through emotions. Shock. Pain. Disgust. Then nothing. Just this blank mask. That's when I knew I'd lost him. Not when he found out. But when his face went empty. "How long?" he asked. 5 months, I whispered. "Where?" "Different places." "Were you ever going to tell me?" I didn't answer. He nodded slowly. Then he said, "Pack a bag. You're leaving tonight." I tried to explain. I tried to say I was sorry, that I loved him, that we could fix this. That I would do anything. Therapy. Counseling. Whatever he needed. He held up his hand and said, "Stop talking." He called his mom. She came and got the kids 20 minutes later. They were half asleep. My son was confused. My daughter asked where I was going. I couldn't answer her. My throat had closed up. David said, "Mommy's going to stay somewhere else for a while." She started crying. She reached for me. I reached back. David stepped between us. He said, "Don't." My daughter screamed. She said, "I want Mommy." David picked her up and carried her to his mom's car. She was still crying when they drove away. My son didn't even look back at me. I left that night with one suitcase. I texted Joshua, he didn't respond. I called him. Voicemail. I called again. Voicemail. I drove to his house. Emily's car was in the driveway. I sat outside for an hour, watching the lights in the windows, waiting for him to come out. He never did. I realized, sitting in my car in the dark, that Josh was never going to leave Emily. That he'd probably already told her I seduced him. That I was obsessed with him. That he tried to stop it but I wouldn't let him. I realized that I destroyed my marriage, my family, my relationship with my kids, for a man who wouldn't even answer my calls. I stayed in a motel for 3 days. Then I moved into my mom's basement. She didn't ask questions. She just looked at me with this deep disappointment that was worse than any lecture. David filed for divorce the following week. The paperwork was delivered by a courier. I signed for it in my pajamas at 2 in the afternoon, standing in my mom's doorway, and the courier looked at me with pity. I closed the door and read it sitting on the stairs. Petition for dissolution of marriage. Primary custody to father. Supervised visitation for mother pending evaluation. I called David. He didn't answer. I called 15 more times. He blocked my number. The divorce proceedings were brutal. David's lawyer was a woman in her 50s with gray hair and cold eyes who looked at me like I was dirt. They had everything. The texts. The hotel receipts. A statement from Emily detailing dates and times. They painted me as an unfit mother who prioritized an affair over her children's well-being. They brought up the time I canceled my son's parent-teacher conference because I was with Joshua, the time I forgot to pick my daughter up from dance because I was texting him. Every single mistake I'd made as a mother, laid out in black and white. My lawyer was a younger guy who took my case cheap because my mom knew his mom. He said I didn't have a strong position. The best I could hope for was every other weekend, supervised, and even that wasn't guaranteed. He asked me if there was anything we could use against David. Any proof he was a bad father. I said no. Because he wasn't. David was a great father. Patient. Present. He did bedtime stories and helped with homework and never missed a soccer game. I was the bad parent. The text proved it. We went to mediation first. I had to sit across a table from David while a mediator tried to negotiate custody. He wouldn't look at me. Not once. He kept his eyes on the mediator or on his lawyer or on the wall behind my head. I tried to apologize again. I said, "David, please. I know I messed up. I know I hurt you. But I love our kids. I want to be in their lives." He finally looked at me. He said, "You should have thought about that before." The mediator suggested a parenting plan. Every other weekend, supervised for the first 6 months, then we'd reevaluate. David's lawyer said absolutely not. Said I was unstable. Said the kids needed consistency and I'd proven I couldn't provide that. They wanted once a month. 1 hour. Supervised. I broke down. I begged. I said, "They're my children. You can't take them from me." David said, very quietly, "You took yourself from them." The mediation failed. We went to court. I saw my kids for the first time in 3 weeks at a court-mandated visitation center. It was this depressing room with fluorescent lights and a social worker sitting in the corner with a clipboard. The kids sat across from me at a table. My son wouldn't look at me. He was 7 years old and he was looking at me the way David had looked at me that night. Like I was a stranger. My daughter asked why I didn't live with them anymore. I told her mommy made some mistakes and daddy needed space. She asked if I still loved them. I said of course. I said I love them more than anything in the world. She said, "Then why did you leave?" I didn't know how to explain it. How do you tell a 4-year-old that you didn't leave, you were kicked out? That you destroyed your family for someone who didn't even care about you? I said, "It's complicated, baby." She said, "Daddy says you made bad choices." The social worker made notes. I asked my son about school. About soccer. About his friends. He gave one-word answers. Yeah. Fine. Good. I asked if he wanted to draw with me. They had crayons and paper on the table. He said no. He said he wanted to go home. The social worker said we still had 30 minutes. Those 30 minutes felt like hours. The supervised visits lasted 2 months. I saw them every week. Same depressing room. Same social worker. My daughter started warming up to me a little. She'd show me her drawings. Tell me about preschool. My son stayed cold. One week, he told me he didn't want to come anymore. He said it made him sad. The social worker made notes. Then David's lawyer filed a motion to reduce the visits to once a month. They said the kids were showing signs of emotional distress after seeing me. My daughter had started wetting the bed again. My son told his school counselor he didn't want to talk to me anymore. That it hurt too much. The judge granted the motion. Once a month. 1 hour. In a room with a stranger watching. I texted Josh probably 100 times in the first month. Begging him to talk to me. Asking him if what we had meant anything. Asking him to at least acknowledge what we did. Asking him to tell the truth about how it started. He never responded. Not once. Every message delivered. Every message ignored. I drove past his house twice. Emily's car was always there. Once, I saw them in the front yard. He was mowing the lawn. She brought him lemonade. They kissed. I sat in my car down the street and watched them be a happy couple, and I wanted to scream. I heard through a mutual friend that they were in therapy. That Emily had forgiven him. That he told her I came on to him. That I was relentless. That he tried to stop it but I threatened to tell David if he didn't keep seeing me. That he made a mistake but I was the real problem. I wanted to call her. To tell her the truth. To show her the text where he initiated. Where he said he was falling for me. Where he said Emily didn't understand him the way I did. But what was the point? She'd chosen to believe him. And honestly, even if she knew the truth, it didn't change what I did. I still chose it. Every single time. David's family cut me off completely. Richard blocked my number. David's mom sent me one text that said, "You are not welcome at any family events. Do not contact us." I wasn't invited to my son's birthday party in October. I sent a present. David sent it back unopened. I wasn't invited to Thanksgiving. I spent it in my mom's basement eating leftovers and crying. I sent Christmas presents for the kids in early December. David sent them back unopened with a note that said, "Stop." I lost friends. People I'd known for years stopped responding to my messages. A mom from my daughter's preschool saw me at the grocery store and turned her cart around. I heard her whisper to someone, "That's her." Another mom I was friendly with blocked me on Facebook. Then another. Then another. Someone posted about it in a local Facebook group. They didn't use my name, but they didn't have to. The woman who cheated with her husband's sister's husband and destroyed 2 families was specific enough. People commented. They called me trash. They called me a homewrecker. They said I deserved to lose my kids. Someone said they hoped I died alone. I got messages from strangers. People I'd never met. Telling me I was disgusting. That I deserved everything I got. That I was a terrible mother. One message said, "I hope your kids forget you exist." That one stayed with me. I got fired from the dental office in November. They said it was budget cuts. The office manager pulled me aside and said, "We just think it's best." I knew it was because she was friends with David's cousin. I knew everyone knew. I could feel them talking about me. I didn't fight it. I got a job waitressing at a diner 40 minutes away where no one knew me. It was humiliating. I had a degree. I had experience. I was taking orders and refilling coffee for $12 an hour plus tips. But I couldn't get anything else. My reputation had spread. Every interview I went to, I could tell they'd heard something. I worked doubles. I slept in my mom's basement. I sent child support I could barely afford. I texted David once a week with updates about my life, asking how the kids were doing, begging for photos. He never responded. I texted Richard once. I said, "I'm sorry. I know that doesn't mean anything, but I need you to know I'm sorry." He didn't respond either. I tried therapy again in January. A different therapist this time. She asked me why I did it. I gave her all the reasons. The routine. The lack of intimacy. Feeling invisible. Feeling like David didn't see me anymore. Like I was just a mom and a wife and not a person. She listened and then said, "And you thought sleeping with your sister-in-law's husband would fix that?" I said it wasn't about fixing anything. It was about feeling something. She said, "And was it worth it?" I started crying. She asked me what I thought I deserved. I said I didn't know. She said, "I think you do." I stopped going after that. I saw David once, in March, at a coffee shop. He was with the kids. My heart stopped. I froze in line. He saw me and immediately took their hands and walked them toward the back exit. I called out, "David, please." He didn't stop. My daughter looked back at me. I waved. She didn't wave back. She just stared. Then they were gone. I sat in my car in the parking lot and cried for an hour. Someone knocked on my window. It was a police officer. He asked if I was okay. I said I was fine. He asked if I'd been drinking. I said no. He told me to move along. I heard in April that David was dating someone. A woman from his office. My mom told me. She didn't want to, but I kept asking if she'd heard anything about him. She said the woman was nice. That the kids liked her. That Richard had met her and approved. I felt like I'd been punched. I Facebook stalked her. She was pretty. Brunette. Fit. Smiled in every photo. Her page was full of pictures of hikes and farmers markets and her dog. She looked stable. Normal. Everything I wasn't. I texted David. I said, "I heard you're seeing someone. I'm happy for you." He didn't respond. I texted again. "Are the kids okay with it?" No response. I texted again. "I miss them." He blocked me on every platform. I had 1 hour a month in that supervised room, and that was all I had left. My daughter started calling the social worker by name in May. Started talking about her new routine at Daddy's house. About the woman Daddy was seeing. About how she was teaching her to bake. My daughter said, "She's really nice, Mommy." I said, "That's great, sweetie." She said, "Do you have a boyfriend?" I said no. She said, "Why not?" I didn't have an answer. My son spoke to me for the first time in months that same visit. He said, "Dad says you're not coming to my soccer games anymore." I said, "I didn't know I was invited." He said, "You're not." The social worker made notes. I think about Richard constantly. About the way he used to call me kiddo. About how he told me I was family. About the photo I still have from a beach vacation 2 years ago, his arm around me, both of us smiling, the sun setting behind us. I used to have it framed. I took it down after everything happened. I don't know why I kept it. I wonder if he thinks about me at all. I wonder if he regrets defending me. I wonder if he tells people he always knew something was off. I wonder if he's glad I'm gone. I think about the moment in Josh's truck when he first kissed me. How easy it would have been to pull away. To say no. To go home. I didn't. I chose it. And then I chose it again. And again. 12 times. 12 conscious decisions to betray my husband. To betray my kids. To betray Emily and Richard and everyone who trusted me. I chose the thrill over my husband. I chose the attention over my kids. I chose 5 months of feeling wanted over a lifetime of being loved. And now I live in my mom's basement. I see my kids once a month in a supervised room where a stranger watches us and writes notes about whether I'm fit to be their mother. I work doubles at a diner where no one knows my name, and I go home smelling like grease and coffee. I go to bed alone every night in a twin bed that creaks and wake up to alarm clocks and silence. Josh is still with Emily. I heard they're trying for a baby. David is serious with his girlfriend. I saw them tagged in a photo at my son's soccer game. She had her hand on his shoulder. He was smiling. Really smiling. The way he used to smile at me. Richard probably calls her kiddo now. I wanted to feel wanted. I wanted to feel like I still mattered. Like I was still desirable. Like I was still me and not just somebody's wife and somebody's mom. Now I'm nobody. A ghost in my own life. A cautionary tale. The woman people whisper about at grocery stores. The reason parents tell their teenagers to make good choices. The punchline. The worst part is I didn't even get caught in some dramatic way. I wasn't blindsided. I walked into this. Eyes open. I saw every warning sign and ignored them all. I felt the guilt and pushed it down. I knew what I was doing and I did it anyway. And for what? For hotel rooms that smelled like bleach. For a man who won't even acknowledge I exist. For 5 months of feeling like someone wanted me. I gave up everything for nothing. If you're reading this and you're standing where I was standing, if you're flirting with someone who isn't your partner, if you're telling yourself it's harmless, that you deserve this, that no one will find out, that you can manage it, stop. Right now. Turn around. Delete the number. Block them. Go home. Go home and look at your kids while they're sleeping. Look at your partner. Look at your life. Really look at it. Not at what's missing. At what's there. Because I can't. I can't go home. I can't tuck my kids in. I can't fix this. I can't undo it. I can't get back the trust or the respect or the life I had. I get 1 hour a month in a room with fluorescent lights and a social worker who writes notes about whether I smile enough or ask the right questions. I get child support payments that drain my bank account and silence from everyone I used to love. This is the real cost. Not the divorce. Not the money. The silence. The way my daughter looks at me now, like she's trying to remember who I used to be. The way my son doesn't look at me at all. I broke my family. I shattered it. And I don't get to pick up the pieces. You don't get a refund on this. You don't get a second chance. You get supervised visits and blocked numbers and strangers calling you trash on the internet. You get to be the villain in your own story. And you deserve it. I deserve it. That's the part that keeps me up at night. Not that it's unfair, but that it's exactly what I earned.